Hey guys! Welcome back to Let's Play Xenosaga Episode 2. Last time, we came into the Episode 3 database for a little while and then annihilated a boss quite easily. This time, pretty much the same. Okay, so the Patriarch, the guy that you can see in the picture there, the guy that we've been dealing with for the last little bit of the game, he is actually given a name in the database, although not in Episode 2, which is kind of weird. His name is Sergius the 17th. Pretty much all the information we're going to get on him until we get back to the actual game. He is a different Patriarch from Sergius the 14th, which is the one who was involved in the Pied Piper incidents, if you remember back to there. If not, I'm going to go over mostly Pied Piper related information today. If you've already know enough about this and you don't care, skip forward till the point where we're actually moving on with the plot. The idea here is this is the Patriarch that was involved and conspired with Voyager to do many evil things during the time when Ziggy was Xenosaga, the cop. Now, most of the things there, this all happened on the planet Abraxas, which later became known as the planet Mictum. Neither which I don't think means a whole lot to us as of Episode 2, but we'll learn more about that moving forward into Episode 3. Speaking of Abraxas, it was the planet that focused on the events that happened in Pied Piper, and so there is a little section of 4 parts that we're going to go over here that shows the history of Abraxas. It basically covers most of the events that happened in Pied Piper. So, about 100 years ago, on the planet Abraxas in the demilitarized zone, I'm getting Star Trek flashbacks again, a meeting was held in order to improve relations between the Federation and the American fleet. And there, in that place of discussion inside virtual space, an incident occurred in which the Goodwill Ambassador and the diplomats were imprisoned. The Galaxy Federation Police, which is the part that Ziggy was a part of, they were on there and they had the lead on this investigation. The name that came up as a suspect was Voyager. Besides that code name, nothing was known about him. He was a mass murderer who had committed one heinous crime after another, targeting women and children. When Ziggy arrived at the scene of the crime, he initiated a dive into the virtual space and hurried to the location where the ambassadors were being held. Near where the diplomats were being held, they came under attack by macrophages. Doesn't matter. Basically, it's a mechanic for in the video game so that you can kill stuff. The attack resulted in the deletion of one of Jan's subordinates, Eric Weber. Being deleted in virtual space is, of course, the equivalent to being killed in real life, just like, die in your dreams, you die in real life, all these things that get thrown through sci-fi and fantasy. At great cost, Jan's group arrived at the diplomats' location, but when they saw what they saw when they got there was a group of young children performing self-deletion and ending their own lives. After the incident, the Special Investigation Unit rejoiced when Eric miraculously came back to life. This doesn't sound good, does it? That's not going to end well. But the doctor who visited them, Sharon Rosas, or however you want to pronounce that, declared that Eric's recovery was unthinkable under normal circumstances. Without finding even a single clue towards solving the ambassador kidnapping incident, a new mass murder incident occurred. The target this time was the designer children known as Salvatore's children. We'll learn more about that in Episode 3. The children had been embryos in a nursing plant genetically modified and intended to be raised for important position. They're basically genetically created humans. And, genetically superior, or whatever you want to call them, uber-humans. Voyager was once again suspected, but the Special Investigation Unit was unable to confirm it. Not long after the incident at the nursing plant, a party sponsored by the Taurus Foundation was planned to be held inside the UMN. Even the head of the immigrant fleet, Patriarch Julius, at the time, was to be invited to his large-scale party. Wary of the terrorism by Voyager, the members of the Special Investigation Unit stood guard, obviously. Eventually, people started to collapse. I'm not going to read through the entirety of this because it's just kind of the same. Certain that the incident was Voyager's work, they of course set a trap for him. Jan's team caught up to the suspect, Klaus, but he killed himself before their very eyes. To obtain information about the incident, Jan pushed aside Sharon's objection and performed a dive into Klaus's dead brain. I talked about this in the review. Gazing into his memory, he learned that Klaus had been collecting something called endorphin programs that had been doing so in preparation for meeting someone. Jan once again visited Sharon's residence to hear the results of her investigation, and we learn a little bit more about that. Moving along, Sharon also told him that both the diplomats and those who had provided DNA to the nursing plant had been pure-blooded Abraxas natives. People of Abraxas are all descendants of the immigrant fleet. There's our connection, are born with that part of their brain developed. This is one that, the endorphins stimulate that part of the brain. I probably should have read that part. But anyway, Sharon too had the blood of the immigrant fleet in her veins. She told Jan that the citizens of Abraxas had once been called the people of Zohar. At the end of numerous difficult battles, the Special Investigation Unit finally discovered Voyager's identity. However, the person they found was not the hideous monster they had expected, but someone they had never even imagined. Voyager said that he had the power of Zohar, and that to fulfill his contract with Udu, he must gather large amounts of endorphins. Jan was certain that Voyager's word meant the next target was the pilgrimage meeting, which they haven't really talked about, but it's basically a large meeting of people from Abraxas, people with the blood of Abraxas. Sharon and Joaquin, which would be his son or her son, and of course Ziggy married Sharon, and so it's his adopted son. That's the one we saw in episode 1 with the dog. Anyway, we're participating in this as well. Zohar began to glow as if responding to the prayers of the participants. The space around it turned to crystal, and the participants disappeared one after another. Voyager and Jan faced off before the awakening Zohar to fulfill his contract with Udu. Again, Voyager ended the lives of his final targets, his new wife and son. For the first time, Jan saw Voyager's crimes with his own eyes. Bodies of his son, his wife, lay before him. His world overcome with despair, his fight with Voyager entered its final stage. But Jan stood no chance against Voyager, the Testament, which we'll get into. As his only method of resisting Voyager's will, Jan ended his own life. Jan Sauer, of course we know Ziggy's name in life. He was a police officer, and he worked to suppress the suppression of UMN terrorists, Voyager, on order for his arrest. And he died in the line of duty while pursuing Voyager. According to reports, he shot himself in the head. Of course, we've established that. Brought on by the pressures of the long-term investigation. As you can see, the information about him was not really revealed the same way that we're led to believe that it actually happened. Registered donor, he ultimately became a property of Ziggurat Industries, hence his new body. Continuing what we were talking about, Ziggy, the final rank he held in life was Captain, and he worked on tracking the Voyager incident with Melise Ortis, the founder of Scantia. We'll learn about that in episode 3, and Lactus, we'll learn more about that in episode 3, but that was a Kanan-type Realian. Again, we'll learn more in episode 3, but we also learned a lot about him in Pied Piper. So if you're interested, you can go check out that game, or my review, or anyone else's review of it. During this time in the detachment unit, his and Voyager's relationship was that of superior and subordinate. Even though they gave us the history, they haven't really explained much about Voyager. Voyager sensed the loneliness in Ziggy's heart and invited him to join the Testaments, but Ziggy decisively rejected by shooting himself in the head. Subordinate, which means... Before becoming a Testament, he was a Federation police inspector named Eric Weber. Yes, that is the revelation that we learn in Pied Piper. If, again, you've played that game, that would probably be helpful. Formerly a UMN net addict, he was struck with a fear of the end that Udu would bring. Ultimately, his contact brought about in him an unslackable thirst for power and a fear of death. Assuming the name Voyager, he derived pleasure from assimilating the consciousnesses of other people into his network and controlling them. hopefully to eventually ascend to the level of being equal to Udu. Once he realized his wish would never be fulfilled while he remained bound to his human shell, he chose to cast aside his physical body and become a testament. There is more backstory to this in the Pied Piper game if you're interested in seeing the connections between all the different things and why this and why that. These are just the basics to explain who this guy is, and that will be important going forward. Originally from Abraxas, his prefrontal cortex has been damaged since early childhood. His compensatory habit of connecting to or constructing a working memory within the UMN brought with it the side effect of net addiction. Though his ID shows him to be 28 years old, the time of the incidents and Ziggy's death, the true age is believed to be over 150 years old. Of course, that was over 100 years ago itself. His official occupation was police officer. His role was to provide external support as an operator to members diving into virtual space. They're basically, like, this whole team that Ziggy was a part of is very much Ghost in the Shell-esque. Very much so. Anyway, additionally, one of his major responsibilities was to operate Bugs, the support robot, since the Realians were not nearly as common, though there was one at the time. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to that. Enough of that database learning stuff. Let's kill some stuff. Anyway, Party, Junior, Chaos, Jin, I showed off their equipment setups last time. Combo boost, status resist 30, status double, and aura codes. With that being said, go into the light. Oh, wrong way, we're dead. Cool echo effect they had there, a little reverb.
You've done well to make it this far. I suppose it's best not to underestimate the resilience of insects.
I've heard enough of your crap!
Do you really know what it is you're doing?
I agree.
I know that voice. The asshole returns.
Don't you think it's about time you quit playing this ridiculous game? This power is mine. You have no right to it.
Albedo!
Yo, Rubido. You seem happy to see me.
Again, I don't know why.
Don't be stupid. How could I be happy?
Ah, if it isn't Yuriev's ghost, I'm afraid you're a bit late. The preparations are already complete. There's no longer a point to your existence.
What an annoying old fool. How about it, Rubido? Want me to give you a hand squashing this guy?
New party member?
You are TV.
Evil
a
as he is,
failed
I'll take
product
it.
of a twisted age. A lower life form such as you could never understand our ideals.
Even Albedo can't break this guy's shield. Crazy. What? He actually hit him? That's pathetic. No way he should be able to hit Albedo.
You people are unbelievable. You're going to destroy me? Complete
What?
destruction doesn't sound all that bad.
Albedo!
But you see, even reducing me to particles won't make me disappear from the cosmos.
What?
Rubido, don't forget to breathe deep and inhale the particles that composed me.
That's a great final line.
Damn you! You bastard! You're gonna pay!
What's wrong? Wasn't he your bitter enemy?
The only one allowed to take Albedo out is me!
Okay, what the fuck, game? For 2 games! For 2 fucking games! We've been chasing him! For 2 games! And then he's dead. And I will go and tell you right now, he actually does die. I've gone into the database in episode 3 and I've gone online to the wiki. At this point, he dies. I don't have words. I also don't have time. This boss fight takes like 15 minutes. So, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all time we have for today. Next time, we will actually fight this guy. Then we will learn a little bit more about why I showed those cutscenes or those database entries from the start of the episode. Anyway, that's all for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.